with all of you some notes, and I have asked you all to read now the various types of ethics, I think, right? Now, what I would also suggest is that since I have already informed sir, uh, I would also like you all to go through some basic material on ethics because it will simplify the process. I mean, now why I say this is that so that you can be, I mean, you can be in sync. That means when I'm teaching, you are in sync with me, and you are able to understand better, and it will ease the process. So there will be, I mean, both simultaneously we will be able to move forward. So I suggest that apart from those material, also to refer to IGNO. So IGNO gives a very good and simplified way. So you all can directly find it online. Okay, that you will find the material of IGNO online with regard to ethics. So conceptual clarity. I mean, basically, the subject requires conceptual clarity. So if you have a good conceptual clarity and a good understanding, then you will have a good foundation. And if you have a good foundation in this subject, as sir already mentioned, rightly enough, this is a highly scoring paper and one of the most crucial papers also to determine many factors. I mean, basically, what kind of a civil servant are you going to be? So that's exactly what it is going to. And ethics is more of a pragmatic. That means a practical paper. Who you exactly are will be reflected by your answers and by what you write. And by what you write will come by what you think. Okay. So if there is a cooperation on your side, then it would be much easier and we will be able to move forward, right? And if you don't understand certain things, no doubt we will explain on those things, those matters, and we will try to explain to you and clarify certain concepts. Yeah. So yesterday we seen all the things, that is ethics, virtue, values, and then we also seen morality, right? So now moving forward, what difference is there in between ethics and morality, ethics and virtues? So, is there any doubt on yesterday's lecture now?
Sir, no.
Okay, so we will do a comparison. Just a moment. So, we are going to do the dimensions of ethics, that is meta ethics, normative ethics, and applied ethics. Okay, so first we will see, we have already seen, but we will just go briefly and we'll have a quick this thing. Ethics are codified by philosophers, which can be studied and implemented. Morality, fluid, varies from situation to situation, person to person. Okay. Then rules of conduct recognize in respect to a particular class of human actions or a particular group or culture. And morals is a personal compass of right and wrong. Choose morals based on your personal values. Ethics refers to rules provided by an external source, society, nation, or religion. Morals refers to individuals' own principle regarding right and wrong. Its source is internal. Then social pressure exerted on the people to follow an ethical behavior. Personal belief is behind following a moral behavior. Ethics are governed by professional and legal guidelines within a particular time and place. And morality transcends cultural norms and quite universal. Is this clear? The differences. See, I want to again emphasize very, very importantly is to understand the concepts. You have to understand the meaning between these things because they are not, as I said, though they may sound synonymous or they may, appear to be synonymous or they may think as if they are same words, but there are differences between them. And understanding the differences is the key to success in this paper. So, is this clear? Ethics and morality. Anyone has any doubt on this point? Pratik? Yeah.
No, sir.
Okay. Chetan?
No, sir.
Okay. Aditya?
No doubt.
Now, moving forward, morality and legality. Now, again, now there is a difference between morality and legality. What may be moral, now whether the legality, whether it is moral or legal, that we have to see. Okay. So now depends on belief. Morality depends on belief. Yesterday we also seen what are beliefs. Okay. And legality is obviously based on the law. So it's undefined. Morality is undefined and fluid, whereas legality is obviously it is codified and well defined and rigid. Now, morality tells you what is to be done and what is not to be done. Tells you what is not to be done. Legality basically is trying to prevent. No doubt there is the concept of positive law and negative law. Okay. Now, morality rewards and punishment. Morality has rewards and punishment, and legality has only punishment. Morality is more of subjective, and because it is based by subject to subject, differs from person to person. Each person may have a different kind of a morality. Now, like for example, now certain sections of now in a particular African tribe, if we see, now for them, it is very it is one of their laws wherein the elderly people, as they age, they allow them, in particular tribes, they allow them to die. They allow them to die in the wilderness and without any kind of support. Now, that can be seen by us as a very harsh thing. Do you all follow what I'm saying?
Yes, sir.
Huh. So now for people here, it may seem as a harsh thing. Similarly, certain women face lots of kinds of. Now they may not face the discrimination that women in India face, but in African countries, based on the tribal this thing, there are various kinds of uh, what do you call women discrimination, which is completely different. So their way of practice, so which may seem completely immoral to us, or it might appear in a very we might consider those things as very horrific. It might seem to us very horrific, like if you look at now the condition of the women even in Afghanistan. So for that matter, so for us, people here, it may seem very different, but the same thing. So that's why morality is different in different places. Different people have different perceptions of morality. Hmm? And now, social punishment is prescribed for violations, and specific punishment is prescribed by the law. And morality offers choices, whereas legality offers no choices. So I hope you understand the clear difference between ethics, morality, and legality. Am I clear?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Now, branches of ethics. So yesterday I asked you all to do and to read. I think I shared with you all also another material, and I asked you all to do it. So have you all done it? किया है कि नहीं किया है?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
I've read.
Okay. So can anybody tell me now what are the branches of ethics? Or what are the dimensions of ethics? Yes.
Sir, can I?
Yes, Siddhi, go ahead.
Sir, in dimensions of ethics, there are normative ethics, descriptive ethics, meta ethics, and applied ethics. In normative ethics, it is again divided in virtue ethics, consequential, consequential, sub-
Contextual.
contextualism ethics, and deontology ethics. And
Okay.
teleology, another name for consequentialism ethics.
Consequentialism. What you're talking is consequentialism.
Consequ-
CONSE. Consequentialism.
consequential.
Consequence,
Consequential.
basically consequence of your actions.
Okay, sir.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Consequentialism. Yes. So that's right, what Siddhi said. So the branches of ethics. So we are going to see. So what is called as meta ethics, what is normative ethics, and applied ethics. Now, undoubtedly, she has mentioned descriptive ethics also. So now meta-ethics, basically, it means that from where meta-ethics is nothing but a branch of philosophy. Okay. Now, remember, let me tell you one thing. Now, this ethics subject has basically come down as a branch of philosophy. Are you all following what I'm saying?
Yes, sir.
And then it has separated. Okay. Then it has separated. And undoubtedly, it has become a discipline by itself. But ideally speaking, it comes as a part of moral philosophy. What we call under philosophy, there are social philosophy, moral philosophy, religious philosophy, political philosophy. So there are branches of philosophy, and among those branches, among that moral philosophy. So among moral philosophy, it is called as meta-ethics. So meta-ethics is, that means from where do our ethical, what does meta-ethics ask? It asks questions like this: from where do the principles come? From what they mean? Okay, and focuses on the issue of universal truths. Is there something called as universal truth?
Sir, can I give an example of universal truth?
Yes, you can give an example, somebody.
Uh, if there is good, then there is bad. We can say like that.
If there is
It is
good, then there is bad. Yes, okay. That is right. So absence of bad is good or absence of good is bad.
correct.
That's right, what I said. Correct?
Absence of good is
Absence
bad.
of good is bad and absence of bad is good.
Sir, it's can you
Okay,
simplify?
you
I
got
mean,
confused.
yeah,
You're confused. Okay, let me tell you. Now, when we say there is war, okay, so war, what can I define war? Can I define war as absence
Absence of
of,
peace. Yeah.
yes, absence of peace. So when absence of peace, then there is war. Okay, so now uh, obviously presence of war means absence. That means peace is not there. There is absence of peace. It's understood. So when war is there, so absence of peace. So that's how now war is not just only about fighting, but it is about the absence of peace. So now these concepts, from where do they come? Basically, this is what meta ethics deals with. This branch of ethics is talking about the universal truth. That means whenever we define concepts, from where do these concepts? So now, are these concepts abstract, or are these concepts, where they can be? Now, what do I mean by abstract?
So may I?
Yes, Aditya.
So abstract, as in which is based on logic, versus empirical, which is based on observations.
Okay. Okay. Okay.
And and since they are based on logic, so by that logic, it would mean that they are universal. Versus empirical
Okay.
ones, which may not be universal. You have to observe like several instances to conclude that this culture at this considers this behavior as ethical, versus that culture considers that behavior as unethical, and so on.
Yes. Yes. So empirical is basically based on observations. Okay, and abstract is based on logic, so logical reasoning basically based on, so this meta ethics is that branch of ethics which basically deals with questions like this. Okay, and it bases its focus on universal truth or the will of God, we can call it, or the role of reason in ethical judgment. That means why do we make certain judgments, what is the use of our reason for that, and the meaning of the terms, that means ethics, virtues, values, all these terms or these subdivisions of these terms come under broadly under meta ethics. Am I clear? All of you, have you understood? We'll be going more into detail about it.
yes,
Is this
sir.
much clear?
Yes, sir.
Any doubt? Siddhi?
No, sir.
Now, normative ethics. Now, normative ethics come from the word norms. That means every society, every time, there are particular norms, particular rules. Okay. So, to arrive at moral standards that regulate right and wrong conduct, this may involve articulating the good habits. That means the norm. Good habits are the norms that we acquire, the duties that we should follow, or the consequences. That means what are the norms? What are the guiding principles? Okay. So norms, basically normative means norms. So every society, every culture has particular norms. Now those are based on the good habits that we should acquire. What we can call as under this subdivision itself will come what is called as virtue ethics. Are you all following what I'm saying? What is called as virtue ethics? Is it clear? That means the good habit. I told you yesterday, virtue means, what does virtue mean?
A good habit,
Sir,
good
good
habits in
habits.
an individual.
Ha, good habits. Samyak, what are the good habits you have?
Uh, good habits as in I am very, sir. I- How can I cannot.
Chetan, what are the good habits that you have?
Um, I'm sincere. I'm motivated. I respect people. Yeah, these.
Okay, good. Aditya, what are the good habits you have?
Uh, I'll rate the first one as I'm a skeptic. I do not believe unless I see the evidence for that. Then I'm also persistent when it is necessary.
Hmm. Okay. So when we talk about good habits that we should acquire, that is virtue ethics. When we say about duties, that is what is called deontology, and consequences, that is teleology. So, and the following is applied ethics. So, applied ethics is involves examining specific controversial issues like abortion, then infanticide, animal rights, environmental concerns, homosexuality, capital punishment, or nuclear war. So, that is the branch of applied ethics. So, biomedical ethics, or environmental ethics, or sexual ethics, all these come under those categories. Is this clear now? The broad branches of ethics. All of you, are you with me? Have you followed what I said?
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
sir.
Hmm? Yeah. Now, moving forward, now let us go to what is metaethics. Metaethics is nothing but we can see divided into two words: meta, which means beyond. Okay, so meta, which means beyond, and ethics. So, hence, metaethics means what is beyond ethics. That is why ethics exists in the first place. Okay, like now it comes from the branch of metaphysics. Metaphysics is the branch of philosophy, okay, which exists beyond the physical explanation. That means there are certain phenomena which happens beyond the explanation of rational explanation of physics. So that is called what we say metaphysics. Okay. So here it can be defined as a study of the origin and meaning of ethical concepts. So it basically covers two issues, that is metaphysical, as I just told you about the metaphysical issues, and psychological issues. Okay. So let us see both of them. Now, metaphysical issue, a division of philosophy that is concerned with fundamental nature of reality and being. That means, do you exist? And why do you exist? Samek, what is the purpose of your existence?
Sir, there is no purpose for existence. We just exist because we exist. If uh, I exist because
Then
I'm
why
lucky,
exist?
right now.
Oh, sorry. Okay. All of you write down, why do I exist? Siddhi?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, tell me, why you exist?
Sir, I have to think over this.
You have to think.
Sir, I think there is no concrete explanation as to why each and every one of us exists.
Okay. Then that means you just mean to say we are just existing because we are just out of something we are existing.
No, sir, not out of, but
Then what does
the,
it mean?
actually, every person means existence and purpose. If we are existing, so we have to make our own purpose.
If
But
you are
exist,
existing, obviously you have a purpose. Now tell me,
yeah, yeah, we have
listen,
to make our own purpose. Like
you don't have
that,
to make your
I'm
own purpose. Listen to me. Listen to me. You don't have to make your own purpose. Listen to me. Now, if a tree is existing, a particular tree, okay, a mango tree, what is the purpose of a mango tree?
to give out mangoes.
Is it going to give out some other fruit?
No, no,
So, what is the purpose of mango tree? To give mangoes, or right? Is it going to
yeah,
give something else? It
no,
cannot give
no,
something else. Can it become an apple?
no,
So, what that is the meaning? What is the meaning of the purpose of the mango tree? To do what?
to give out mangoes,
To bear fruits, right? Now there are non-flowering
to bear
trees,
fruits.
right,
Yeah,
or
correct.
non-fruit bearing trees. So their purpose is different. Yes or no?
Yeah,
So that means the
yeah,
purpose. So now
of
the
course.
question is, you understand? So if the existence is there, every creature exists for a particular purpose. Nothing is
Yeah,
existing without purpose.
yeah, that's true. But we have to find our own purpose. That's what I mean to say.
Now, how are you going to find out your purpose?
Sir, for example, let's take a famous athlete. If you take Lionel Messi, if we go by that example, if he's the world's best football player, and if he would have made into a swimming, if he had have become a swimming athlete, would he have been excelled in that? Obviously, no, because he was just existing because of one purpose, that is playing football. So we can
Now,
sort
I
of
think
let me
I
correct
quote
think,
you.
this.
sir, you when you refer to us, so I think you're trying to refer to humans to preserve humanity. So we are here to um, preserve humanity, or be kind to each other.
Yeah. Now explaining. Explaining the point of what Samyak said. Samyak, if football is only thing, that means I eat football, I drink football, I live football.
Uh,
You
no,
understood what I
sir.
said? You, because just now what you said, based on that, that goes the meaning.
No, I mean, sir, his purpose. I mean, I'm telling, he's
That is
regarded with
not called
football,
purpose.
right?
That is not called purpose. That is a career. That is this thing. That is not a purpose.
Okay.
Yes, Aditya.
So, from the point of view of a very basal, primal existence, the purpose of all animals or all living beings is to survive. That's it. But humans are a little above that because we have this terrible little ability to self-reflect. We call it self-consciousness. So after self-reflection of all sorts of by all sorts of meditations, the philosophers and the rishis or the people like Buddha, they came at a conclusion that the purpose of human life is to attain enlightenment. There are obviously various ways of doing that, but enlightenment has always been an individual affair, at least historically in India. But now I think we need to go beyond that individual affair of like there's only one people and there's only one person and he's attaining enlightenment and then he's gone. We need to focus on a collective sort of enlightenment, which is like a theme in the modern times. But then this theme can also play out in some very evil ways, like what the Nazis were doing. So they were trying to like attain enlightenment, but only for a particular race of people, the Aryans, whom they call, and everyone else is not capable of that. So of course, like this collective enlightenment, we need to be very careful with that.
Okay. So now the nature of reality. That means now thinkers like Socrates said, reality is the shadow of ideas. Siddhi, tell me what I mean. Siddhi,
Yes, sir, I'm there, sir.
yeah, so tell me what I have asked. Akshada, now let me tell you this exact question has been plaguing the minds of the philosophers and thinkers, and their whole thing is to find out why we exist and what is the purpose of our existence and why we want to live a good life and from where we draw. And this is exactly what metaphysical issues deal with. Now, as I said, the Greek philosopher Socrates spoke about that reality is that means he's saying that actual thing is not the reality but the idea of reality. You are going to see him again now. We will be meeting him once again in the moral philosophers. Did you understand what I said?
So is this the same as the Plato's theory? I mean, I think he has like expanded on Socrates' ideas, I think.
Yes. Plato is the disciple of Socrates. So the teaching is basically Socrates. The mouthpiece of Socrates is Plato.
So it's like the cave analogy that Plato is giving.
Yes. Now, I'll ask you another question. Beauty can exist without a beautiful thing.
Can you repeat?
Beauty can exist without a beautiful thing.
So the beauty is a concept, and it only manifests in the material world, and
Not
that
at
too
all.
when
Not required. Beauty can exist in the mind, not necessary. Only in the material world.
it is
That
a
means,
concept which manifests in the material world. It is this Plato's
see, it is
idea.
not like that. That is not Plato's idea. That is not Plato's idea. See, now, when we physically see a rose flower, we can look at it and we can appreciate its beauty. Now, Plato says that even without looking, we imagine our idea. That means the idea of the rose itself is in our mind. Beauty can exist without a beautiful thing. That means without the actual thing being present. That is what is called reality is a shadow. That means he gives importance to ideas. He says ideas are superior to the matter. It is not about the matter. Matter is based on material world, what we see with our external senses. But there are things which are there which cannot be seen with the external senses. And those are the things which Socrates and Plato talk about. And that's what is called idealism. कुछ समझ में आ रहा है क्या मैं क्या बोल रहा हूँ?
The reason exactly that's what I said. It's a concept which manifests in the material world. It is above the. It's a concept. It's a universal, and it manifests in different forms. Like it can manifest in a painting, or maybe in a scenery, or maybe in a rose, or in some very symmetric object, like the like the concept of geometry. There is no
Yes.
perfect circle on the earth. There's this concept of circle, and we try to see that in the world. We can't have a perfect circle in the world. The perfect circle exists up over and above this material plane. And so
Yes.
with the ideas of justice and so on.
Yes.
Sir, we can take also an example of Taj Mahal only. At first, the one who built it might have uh, envisioned it like how it needs to be built, and
Yes.
after that he envisioned it into the reality. So
Yes.
I mean, of course,
So here,
The Taj Mahal example is like a good one because it is the Muslim concept of the Islamic concept of heaven. Like a heaven is
yeah,
imagined to be a garden. So the one who is able to manifest this idea on the earthly realms as real as possible. I mean, of course, it cannot be heaven because it's down on the earth. So such a person should have some above average qualities. That was the logic behind creating these grand monuments.
so basically, the metaphysical issues deals with topics which are beyond the realm of matter. So basically, that is what this what we call meta ethics deals with. Okay, so it can be further. It deals with the matter that is beyond the objective experience. Objective, which means which we can see physically with our five senses and sense it. It can be further divided into what is called as absolutism or relativism. Now, what is absolutism? Like just like a soul is the essence of the living being, that is, which is divine, absolute, and eternal. That means it is unchangeable. That's why it is absolute, eternal, and unchangeable. Ethical principles too are, I mean, based on this theory of metaphysical, they are universal, absolute, eternal, spiritual, otherworldly, and divine, like God. They simply exist like gravity. Okay, so we can experience their presence in our soul, but we can't know the reason of their existence. We realize their presence through the voice of our conscience, inner voice, or the voice of our soul. So Plato believed in the divinity. That means all the values and ethics which came according to Plato, which I just mentioned. So he said this is it is a divine thing. So he believed it in the divinity of these moral values, and so they are like a divine law. Okay, Indian concept of dharma also is akin to the universality of ethics. Is it clear about absolutism?
yes, sir, yes.
All of you? Umang, you followed?
Yes, sir.
Anybody who has not understood? Chetan?
Yes, sir.
Now, relativism. Obviously, absolutism and then relativism. That means relative, changing position and time. Ethics is this worldly and created by human mind only and hence quite subjective. So, according to the theorists of relativism, they say that ethics is this worldly and it is created by human mind only and hence it is quite subjective. So, it is not coming from something which is coming from above, as the absolutist thinkers say. Okay. So, what they are saying, the relativist thinkers saying that it is not something which is absolute, it is existing on this earth. It comes from the human mind and it is subjective. That means person to person, based, relative. Okay. So moral values keep changing with time from one society to another. Such thinkers or philosophers are all often called skeptics who question all the moral values. Skeptics don't reject moral values in itself, but denies that spirituality or divinity of the moral values. That means they say that what can be seen only is basically rationalist. Basically, what can be seen or what can be reasoned out only can be accepted by them. So they refuse to accept the principle of the divine, that is the absolutist. Okay. So this position of philosophy is also called as moral relativism. So when and where whatever they feel like, so we can do anything as we feel like according to time and place. So it changes. So the law, moral law, there is no principle of a moral law, but it changes according to time and situation. So there are two distinct forms of moral. Is it clear till here? Chetan, you
Yes,
followed?
sir.
Samyak?
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yes, sir.
Siddhi?
Yes, sir.
Pratik?
Yes, sir.
Yes. The newer students, any of you have any doubt who have not understood anything?
No doubt, sir.
Yeah. So basically, as I said now, talking now, see, like, yes, taking up on yesterday's topic on now the subject on homosexuality. So, according to the divine law, it is not permissible at all. Okay, because the divine law, the universal law, the divine law rejects it. And now, human law or human person, person to person, and now person to person, accordingly, persons, I mean, the law changes, and according to people, according to places, then they accept or they reject it. Okay, so that is the relativism. That means relative to person, to places, to situations, to time. Okay, whereas in absolutist, it is completely, it is fixed. That means it is eternal, it is unchangeable. We cannot change it. So it is not going to change if it is goes, even if it is 1,000 years back or 2,000, or even if we go another 1,000 years ahead also, it is going to be same. It will not change. That is what is the meaning of absolutism. It is fixed. Now, two types of relativism is there. Individual, that means individual create their own moral standards. Individual morality depends on what suits you best. That means everyone thinks whatever they feel like. Okay, so I might feel something which may be good for me, somebody else may feel, that is individual moralism, relativism. Now, similarly, there is cultural, are decided by the society through evolutionary process. So cultural based on the society. So moral principle does need approval of one society. So that means in certain societies, as I gave you the example of certain tribes in Africa, so it is completely moral. Okay, for those tribes in such kind of tribes, so for certain practices, I mean, to leave the elderly, I mean, and the elderly and the sick to the forces of nature, because they believe they have come from the forces of nature, so they can perish accordingly, according to these tribes. But now, I mean, if we talk in terms of us, for us, it is respect towards the elderly, take care of our parents. So that is how we view it. So the culture there and the culture here are two different things. Similar way goes to the culture in South India. I mean, with regard to Kerala, in regard to Kerala, with regard to the matriarchal society. So similarly, the principles are followed there are very different. So for us, it might sound as now most of India is a patriarchal society, whereas in South India, specifically based in Kerala, more or less it is a matriarchal society. So we can see that cultural wise, individual wise, the law or the moral attitude of people changes. Then psychological issues in metaethics, that why do some people behave morally and others immoral when they are brought up in the same society and often sometimes even in the same family. So what is the reason? So that is what the psychology, I mean, metaphysics, metaethics deals with that. Apart from metaphysics, it also deals with psychological issues in metaethics. Okay, then does being ethical is a matter of faith, I mean, based on certain faith principles that we follow, certain religious beliefs that we follow, or is it on some reasoning? So that is the question that this whole meta ethics deals with. Have you all followed?
Yes.
Hmm? All of you, have you followed what is meta ethics?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sure.
Any doubt? No doubt.
Sir, can we say that regarding yesterday's topic only, that homosexuality is an concept of ethical and moral dilemma?
I don't think it's. See, what you said is it's not an ethical dilemma. Basically, it's more of a moral.
Okay, okay.
It's not an ethical. It's more or less based on a moral dilemma, basically.
Okay, sir.
So, any doubt? Now, moving forward, why be moral? So, are we moral because it gives us certain benefits like happiness, honor, or connect with people? Or are we moral because we want to avoid punishment, social isolation, or hatred from fellow humans? So, what is the cause that why we are moral? Okay, so what is the reason why I am moral? So, I have to ask myself these questions, that why am I moral? Why do I consider certain things as immoral? Now, certain things may be completely moral to me, and I may have completely, I may have a positive attitude towards it, whereas to certain other things, I might consider them as completely immoral, which may be moral from others' perspective. Are you all following what I'm saying? Hello, Samyak.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Yes, Aditya.
I think it depends on the locus of control, like the one which I talked about yesterday. Like certain people, it is observed that certain people have an internal locus of control. So for such people, being moral is about the happiness that they get, or the honor, or the feel good factor of it. But for people who have an external locus of control, for them, being moral might be subject to like avoiding punishment and social isolation or hatred from other human beings.
Yes. So I hope all of you have followed now. That means each of you have to ask this question. See, now this that's why I said this subject is a very practical subject. Basically, we have to introspect ourselves. I mean, maybe we have not asked these questions to ourselves, and that's why we have not given it a thought. Or it may be so, I mean, for us, it may be just as a part of our thing that we do our day to day thing without really thinking why we do something. So the question is exactly that I need to ask myself that why do I need to be ethical? Why am I ethical? Or what is the reason? What makes something ethical? What makes something unethical? What behavior of mine makes it moral? What makes it immoral? These are the questions which I need to ask. Okay, so unless you ask yourself this question and unless you question yourself and your belief, because it can be that our beliefs are wrong. It could be because most of these decisions are based on our beliefs. We are going to see cognition, attitude, and behavior. So, cognition is basically our beliefs, our belief system, our thinking. Our thinking comes from what we believe. So, our belief may not be rational, also, it can be irrational. Okay, it could be something which is not proven, so it could be based on irrational fears. So that's why we have to ask. So therefore, a very practical way of dealing with it is to ask oneself the question. So unless you are actively involved as an active person, as an active rather than a passive listener, if you are actively involved in questioning as the lecture proceeds and moves on further, and as you start thinking about these things, you need to start asking questions to yourself. So that what am I doing? Is it ethical? Is it unethical? Now, for example, attending,
Um,
coming. Yes, Chetan.
sir, so being moral, so I
Now,
think,
see, yeah, Chetan, tell me. Continue.
no,
Then
no,
I'll
please,
tell you.
please, no, no, please go on. Sorry.
You finish. You finish.
So I was saying that we are moral at a given particular time for happiness. The other uh, time we are avoiding punishment. For example, I can give a very small and simple example. Suppose if somebody asks you for a lift, okay,
Hmm.
you give them the lift. And then the guy says, "Hey, thanks me, thanks. I was getting late for an interview." You get a sense of happiness, okay.
Correct.
So there, this is one of the reason why we are moral. The other, for on the same lines, for example, you have crashed into someone's vehicle, okay, and
Hmm.
instead of waiting and helping him to the hospital or treatment, you just run away. So there you are moral because you want to avoid punishment, because there will be hit and run case or something. So we are moral one day for happiness, the other time for avoiding punishment, another. So one person does this all the time, in both the things. So in yeah.
Yes, that's right, Chetan. What you have said is right. Okay, what you have mentioned is the right thing.
Sir,
The
but
sir,
how, sir, but how is the second example of moral?
Second example, actually, yeah. Now that I was waiting for somebody to ask this.
sir, even I have a question. Like you cannot join happiness with morality because person, it depends. Like a person can get happiness if he does something, does harm to people also. Like there are some individuals like that, you can say. Like if they harm someone, they derive happiness out of it. A sadist, if
No,
you
but now we are not talking about the deviant behaviors in society.
okay,
See, those are not everybody. We cannot now start talking about the pathophysiological people who are there. Okay, so I mean we are talking about normal people in the society.
okay,
Undoubtedly, what you said, yes, there are those people also. But now, what we are talking about is in general people who are in their senses and
okay,
who
okay,
are taking the decisions.
okay, sir.
I mean, those are. They are. I mean, they have certain kind of a sickness, na. They are sick
That's
in some way
correct.
or
That's
the other.
correct.
They are sick, so obviously they need some kind of therapy and treatment, and
Yes, yes,
that's why
yes.
they are. I mean, that is the reason why they're deriving pleasure out of. I mean, nobody in the normal this thing would derive
Yeah,
happiness out of.
that's I agree. Yes, sir.
So anyway, we have to ask questions to ourselves. Okay. So first important thing for you to understand in this subject is to ask questions to yourself and find out that whether what I am doing, whether is it moral, is it immoral, is it ethical, is it unethical. I mean, when we ask questions only, we will be able to get a right. And then why am I doing that? If supposing if I am doing something, whether whether is it giving me some happiness or is it giving me some kind of or am I afraid I'm being moral just to please the society or to please people. So, what is the reason behind, or is it a virtue, or is it giving me because because I am practicing virtue? So, am I? So again, that question comes up, right? Now, egoism. There are certain terms which we need to know. Okay, when we go forward, the term egoism derives from ego, Latin word for I in English. Okay, so it means that men are inherently selfish. They do everything to please themselves. Okay, even when they're helping others, doing charity or social work, real purpose is to please themselves. Now this again is subjective. Okay, some people may do it. Some people are completely, I mean, they may be completely egoistic. That is a very, and sometimes it may happen in general for the general society, general public. This may be, sometimes we may be egoistic, sometimes we may be altruistic. That means we may help others. So, and sometimes there are people who are completely altruistic also. So we have both sides of the, I mean, we can see people on both sides. Okay, I mean, people who overcome their own selfish desires and who selflessly give of themselves. Okay, then we have altruism. Man is a social animal and he can't enjoy anything alone. So we feel empathy, sympathy with other people. So when we see injustice, we feel pain of the victim. We cry when others cry, laugh when others cry. Laugh. A Swedish proverb beautifully says, "Shared joy is a double joy. Shared sorrow is half sorrow." Altruism does means that man has an inherent capacity to show benevolence to others. So it's a great virtue in many cultures and a core aspect of various religious traditions and secular worldviews. Is it clear the difference between egoism and altruism? Egoism means I am
Yes,
satisfied about me and myself only. I, me, myself. Altruism is forgetting about oneself but looking towards the pain of others and feeling the pain for others and trying to share in that pain. That is altruism. Altruistic. So altruistic by nature and egoistic by nature. So they both. So as I said, in the general society, normally we are sometimes egoistic, sometimes we are altruistic. There are some people who are completely altruistic. I mean, most of the time they are able to. So those are the people who rise above all the differences and every kind of thing, and they are able to overcome their selfishness and all things and rise above that. So now, as civil servants, what should be our nature? I mean, as civil servants, so we are not the masters, rather, we are supposed to serve the society. So, what kind of a perception do we have? Whether are we ready to serve the society or are we ready to, become masters and oppress the society? Then emotion. So moral assessments also involved. So all these things come under morality. So morality involves our egoism, it involves our altruistic nature, it involves our emotions. So moral assessments involve and not our reason. So we do what feels good to us. So sometimes we do because it feels good to us, so I do something. Because inwardly I have a feeling, sense of feeling of goodness. so I do it. So we find reasons later to justify. So there can be emotions to do something moral. Some people may find certain emotions to justify their morality. Okay. Then reason is and ought to be the slave of the passions, as David Hume says. Okay. Then reason. Many philosophers, including Immanuel Kant, believe that emotions are not enough to justify our actions. So there are obviously reasons behind why we do certain things. So all moral actions can be derived by reasons. For example, people avoid corruption since they can be sent to jail. People are faithful, else their relationship shall break. So emotions are subjective and temporary. Reasons are objective and last long. True ethics are guided by reason rather than emotions. Are you all following what I'm saying?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Hmm? Chetan, Samyak,
Yes, sir.
Aditya,
Yes, sir.
Siddhi,
Yes, sir.
Vishaka.
Yes, sir.
Now, feminine morality. So the traditional morality now again, feminism. I mean, feminist scholars when they rose into prominence, so they said that this traditional concept. Uh, uh, yeah, okay. Just a moment. Now, all the new students, kindly lift up your hand because I cannot identify now who is new and who are the old students. So I know only Siddhi as the old student and Vishaka. I do not know about the others. I think Sharayu also is an old student. New students, kindly lift up your hands. Those who are new. New in the sense you have not attended my lecture before. Okay, not attended the ethics lecture before. You may be in the attending sir's lectures and all. I'm saying in my lectures. I mean, you all are new for this ethics. You all have not attended my ethics before. Last year I have taught ethics, so all those. So only three of you are new. Vaishnavi, you are an old student, right?
So
Yes,
almost
sir.
few students last time they didn't attend. So almost excluding 3 to 4 students, all are new. We can consider for your
Okay.
lecture for ethics sessions.
Okay, so leaving. Okay, which are the old students now who have attended my lecture? Forget about the new students. Old students put up. Those who have attended my lectures.
For
Please lift
ethics
up your
subject.
hand.
For
For
ethics.
ethics subject. Har Siddhi, I have never seen your name before. Have you attended my ethics lecture before?
Sir, this time only, like, this is my third
No, no,
lecture.
no. So that's why I'm not asking. I'm saying last year. Those who have attended
No,
previously.
no.
The entire
That's
ethics
why,
I'm talking. So
yeah,
don't
sir,
lift your
you
hand.
said raise your
No,
hand
no,
if
no.
you
I'm
are
saying
new.
the old students. Like Siddhi is the old
Okay.
student. I know Siddhi. I know Vishaka. Chetna, yeah. Chetna's name also I know. Vaidyanath, I have never seen your name. Are you an old or new student? Kunal, I know.
I'm old student, sir.
You're an old student. Okay, I have never seen you. Okay, anyway.
No, sir. Vajjanath, you joined recently, no? 2 months back. Those who
Uh,
last time,
two-
last time,
sir,
sir, excluding 4 to 5 students, all are new. Those who are attending your lecture first time. First time
Okay.
means they have attended just last 2
Just
to 3
last
lectures.
2 sessions, 2 or 3 sessions. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So you
Okay.
consider all are new students.
All
sorry,
are
sir.
new
I
students.
meant
Okay.
I attended lecture.
Yeah. See, all of
Okay.
you, if you are having any doubt, because subject is conceptual and practical. Okay. So if you are having any questions, so please do ask questions, because I'm observing that 3 to 4 students, they are talking, they are interacting with sir, but rest of the students are keeping silence, which is not expected. If you are having any doubts, so please do ask questions to sir. Okay. Yeah. Thank you. Please
Yes,
continue, sir.
thank you. Yeah. So as sir rightly said, because I need to know the response of the new other students also, because it should not be I'm only dialoguing here with 2 or 3 students and the other students don't know. And since you are not physically present before me, so I don't know who is. We cannot see, so we don't know exactly who is. So kindly, any of you, if you have not understood, please lift up your hand and then I will explain if you have not followed any topic, okay? Any subject or any matter which is being referred here. Okay, so coming back to the topic, feminine morality. So the traditional morality. Now, as I said, as feminism, this is one of the ideological movements which rose and said that everything is described in terms of male or in terms of masculinity. So they took up this topic. So therefore, this concept of feminine morality came in. So they say that traditional morality is masculine with more emphasis on power and the rigid moral rules like rights and duties. So females constituting half of the population use different type of morality that is important for the survival of society. The basis of morality would be spontaneously caring for others as would be appropriate in each unique circumstance. A mother may love her child sometime and also punishes her sometime depending on the situation and in the end. So basically, the feminist scholars are saying that basically the female thinking of morality, we should have a separate kind of thinking because females have a different kind of thinking. Okay, so that is what they are talking. So now we have seen morality based on egoism, morality based on be seen, then morality based on altruism, morality based on emotion. That means emotions are required to justify morality, or reason is required to justify morality. And feminine scholars have said that not all this, but there is a separate kind of a morality that is based on the female understanding of morality. Is this clear, meta ethics?
Yes, sir.
All of you?
Yes.
The news, the others, those are not answering. You all please answer me because I do not know if you have understood or not understood. So I need to know that. If you're not understood, you can ask me. Hmm? So we see here now dimensions of ethics from yesterday, what I have shared with all of you. So branch of ethics that deals with philosophical questions, nature, about the nature of ethical theory, such as what is good, what is bad, what is right, what is wrong. And then we have seen relativism and absolutism and ethical skepticism. So what is happened is what is patriotism. Okay. Now let us see relativism, absolutism, that is universalism, also it is called as an ethical realism. Okay. And ethical realism, that is skepticism. So ethical relativism or also under the branch of moral relativism and cultural relativism, as we have seen. It holds that there are no universal or absolute standards which apply across, okay, individuals. Is it clear? Have you understood all those points which I have discussed?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Yeah. So it holds that there are no universal or absolute ethical standard which apply across individuals or cultures. Blind man and the elephant, Anekantavad, sophists believe in ethical relativism. That means relative to people, person, place, time. A tribe in Africa kills its weakest infants, as I told you in the time of famine. Nietzsche, nothing is true, all is allowed. Marcus Aurelius, whatever we see is a perspective, not the reality. Whatever we hear is an opinion, not the fact. So most philosophers reject ethical relativism while admitting that moral practices differ markedly from one culture to another. Regardless of cultural context, there are certain universal principles and norms which ought to be followed. Like for the example they have given, United Nations, covenant on the civil and political rights. Okay, so they are talking about that. Despite all that we know, so they have given a important statement there. Now, challenges to ethics, moral accountability is ethical skepticism. First view is that human beings are incapable of following ethics. This view is supported by psychological egoism. Human beings are selfish. Altruism is an illusion. Ostensible good deeds have hidden selfish motive. Human beings try to maximize their self-interest. Thinkers such as Thomas Hobbes, Adam Smith, and man, actually, that thinker is not given right there, are proponents of this. So Thomas Hobbes and Adam Smith. So it should be Machiavelli, okay? Machiavelli. So that should be the thinker, are proponents of this. So, however, there is no empirical evidence for this. Too simplistic and over generalization. So, what are the challenges to moral accountability? Okay, so that is basically ethical skepticism. Second view is that although human beings are capable of being ethical, it is difficult to pursue moral goals due to following reasons. Ethical relativism, as I said, ethically relative, that means subject to place, time. Determinism and free will, human beings are not autonomous free agent. They do not have free will. The decisions and actions are determined by external forces. And accountability of moral agents. Morality of the rightness of any action is determined by existence of free will, involuntary, voluntary nature of action, and the purpose of action. So meta ethics, is it clear with everybody? Yes or no? All of you?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Okay. Now moving forward to normative ethics. So normative ethics is the study of ethical action, norms based on norms. It deals with ethical dilemma and investigates the set of questions that arise how one ought to act morally in a given situation. That means how one should act based on the norms which are there given. So how one should act. What is the reason why how one will act? Okay. So it is unlike metaphysics or meta ethics, which talks about why, what is the reason or what is the concept behind that. Now here it is saying why, how one ought to act, basically. Sometimes also called as prescriptive rather than descriptive. That means it tells us how to act morally than rather than what morality is. Now what we see in meta ethics, it is defining what morality is. Now here, on the contrary, normative ethics is prescriptive. That means it is like a doctor who prescribes, okay, who tells that what should be done, okay, so what, how to act. So that is how, that's why it is called prescriptive ethics also. Types of normative ethics. Virtue ethics. Now this is advocated by Aristotle. So the thinker Aristotle was a disciple student of Plato. Socrates was the teacher of Plato, and Aristotle teacher was Plato. So they are in succession, so the Greek philosophers. So virtue ethics, so it was propounded by, obviously it was already given by Socrates only, and then further expanded by, more clearly expounded by Aristotle. So Aristotle gave a clearer picture of what virtue ethics is, okay, and it was supported in the medieval times by Saint Thomas Aquinas. Then it focused on, as I said, virtue means virtue is something which is a good habit. So it focuses on inherent character of a person rather than on specific. So it is talking about why a person is virtuous, because of his character, because of his good habits, his behavior. So it focuses on the person, not on the action that he does, or not on the duty that he does. Are you all following what I'm saying? Like, for example, what Gandhi would have done. Now we consider Gandhi to be as a virtuous person. Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
So what will happen in case of virtue ethics? It will happen like this: that virtue, they will consider that what would have Gandhi done in such a situation? What would have Socrates done? So Socrates is considered as a virtuous person. So what would Socrates do? So that is the kind of thinking that virtue ethics deals with. Are you all following? Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So our actions are manifestations of our inner self, what we are inwardly. If you are a good person, all your actions shall be good. If you are a bad person, your actions can't be good. Okay. It means that if you are a virtuous person, all your actions shall be ethical. Just like a hero can't do anything wrong, even if he kills someone, a virtuous person always will do the right thing. Have you all followed this virtue ethics idea? What virtue ethics means? Chetan?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Yes.
Hmm? Yes, Aditya.
Doesn't this create a potential for hero worship?
My dear, my dear Aditya, now see, we are studying the types of ethics, right? So under virtue ethics, it is not, it's not just creating, we are, I'm not, we are not trying to create any kind of a hero worship. What we are trying to do is here to try to understand the different dimensions of the normative ethics. So in virtue ethics, now some people are said to be virtuous. That means why they are virtuous? Because of their good deeds. Now, whether to worship them or not to worship them is the choice of who follow them. You understood, Aditya, what I'm saying?
Yes, sir, I understood. Although this last line, just like a hero can't do anything wrong even if he kills someone, that's a little uh, dicey. That's it.
Mhm. See, now look at it in a very simple form. Basically, it is that's what I said. Now a national hero. Okay, now that obviously that means it is not. We are not trying to say that virtue ethics is here. We are just giving the different what different theories or different ethical theories are trying to say. Now, whether it is right or wrong is another question by itself. So, virtue ethics is not. It's only one branch of ethics. So there are other things which can conflict it.
I got that.
Now, a tree is known by its fruit. For a good tree does not bear bad fruit, nor a bad tree bears good fruit. For every tree is known by its own fruit. A good man out of the good treasure of his heart brings forth good. An evil man out of the evil treasure of his heart brings forth evil. For out of the abundance of the heart his mouth speaks. Do you all understand what is the meaning of this now?
Yeah.
The example that you stated earlier.
Okay, yes.
Sir, is this prose from a Bible, from the Bible?
Yes, it is from the Holy Scripture. So, how do we understand about a tree being good?
Sir, it basically, if I elaborate on that, it states that each and every individual is recognized by his actions. If he does good
But from
things,
where does
then
the
he is
actions come?
from the individual's heart. If he has a good
From
heart,
the individual heart, yes. So whatever
if
is
he,
in our heart, that exactly we are going to bring out.
yeah, yeah, correct.
If we have evil in our heart, I don't think something good is going to come out.
That's true, sir.
So if we have negativity within us, what is going to reflect?
Negativity only.
Hmm. So let me now make it one thing, the very, very important. In the civil services, our way of thinking, I mean, now because you all are new aspirants to this and new entrants to preparing for this, you need to understand to, as I said, that we have to guide our understanding. That means to understand certain things. This is not like, I mean, in the sense like now when you are in college, you may have a different kind of an understanding or what you may have studied in the university and colleges. Those are completely different. But when you are preparing for a competitive exam, an understanding has to be developed in line with that. Are you all following what I'm saying?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Now, cardinal virtues. Cardinal virtues derive initially from Plato in the Republic Book 4. The virtues are expanded by later philosophers like Cicero, Ambrose, St. Augustine, and Thomas Aquinas. Virtues are also recognized in the Bible, Old Testament, classical antiquity, and traditional Christian theology. So, what are cardinal virtues?
Sir, I do not understand this term.
Chetan, Siddhi,
No.
Siddhi.
Yes, sir.
Tell me.
Sir, I only know one, that temperance is there.
Good. You remember? Yeah. So cardinal virtues basically means which holds all. Have you heard of seven sins, seven capital sins, vices?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So the virtues are exactly opposite to the vices. Okay. So there are basically, but these are called cardinal. Cardinal means like how the now a door, how is the door held in place? By the hinges, right?
Yes.
So cardinal means which is holding something. That means it is the joint which holds cardinal. That means it is the key. So there are four major cardinal virtues. Okay. So which is recognized by Plato and later on expanded by the other thinkers. Okay. So he says that there are four, that is justice, wisdom, temperance, and fortitude. Okay. And then later on expanded by the others, as I said. So let us see now four cardinal virtues. Prudence. So the other word for prudence can be wisdom. Okay. Rather, wisdom would be there. Then courage. You can use the other word also, fortitude. So now prudence is the ability to discern appropriate course of action to be taken in a given situation at the appropriate time. So am I prudent?
Sir, I
Yes.
think each and every person should be prudent.
But then the question is, are we prudent?
Maybe.
Chetan?
Mhm.
Yeah, Vishaka, you are right. Cardinal means heart also. Now, courage, also called as fortitude, strength. That means whenever you make a decision, you have to have the strength to stand by that decision. That means now if a collector is giving a particular order, now supposing there are riots going on, okay, and he calls in for a particular action to be taken, so he needs to stand by that action. Did you follow what I'm saying? That what he
Yes,
has
sir.
taken. So that is called courage. That is called fortitude by the decision that he has made. Then temperance, that means restraint, control, practice of self control, abstention, discretion. So these are all other what you call synonyms for these for the word temperance. Moderation or tempering the appetite, okay, and justice considered as fairness. That means am I just towards things? So these are what are called the cardinal, four cardinal virtues. Okay, is it clear to all of you the four cardinal virtues?
Yes, sir.
Hmm? Pratik?
Sir, can I didn't get it.
Sorry, pardon me.
So can you explain me the temperance because I didn't get it properly?
Now, see, temperance basically means being moderate. Supposing now you like a particular, say, supposing if you have a particular favorite dish, okay, and now uh, you go for a wedding, and in that wedding you are seeing many things are being served. Now you know that if you will overeat, there is going to be a problem. So when you control yourself and you restrain yourself, instead of eating, overeating, you restrain yourself, even though you like that dish, and then do you restrain yourself. That is called temperance, being temperate, moderate.
Okay, sir.
Siddhi, you followed?
Yes, sir.
So, please can you explain prudence again?
Prudence is basically that means at any given point of time, what is the right thing to do. Now supposing say, now I'll give you an example. I have seen many students. Now I am not necessarily speaking with regard to you all. Okay, over the period of years, I have seen many students starting the preparation of the civil services right from their first year. Is it a prudent choice or is it an imprudent choice?
It is a prudent choice.
Sorry, Pratik.
Sir, it is a prudent choice.
It is a prudent choice. Why? Pratik,
Sir,
you have
because
completed your graduation, right?
yes, sir.
Yeah. Umang,
Sir, I am a second year student.
so do you think your choice is a prudent choice?
Yes, sir.
Why?
Sir, because I am preparing myself to for UPSC since I am started my graduation. So I will be crack that exam so soon as compared to those who are graduating and then they are doing preparation.
Now, Umang, what guarantee you have you will get selected?
So I will do the preparation
You will do the
like
preparation, right?
likewise I'm
Okay.
doing now.
Now let
Yes.
me tell you. Okay, yeah, that's you gave a correct answer. Now let me tell you. Many students. Now you decide for yourself. Okay, I will not give the comment on it whether it is prudent or not prudent. Many students whom I have seen start preparation at a very early age and they get burnt out. And they do not focus on their graduation subject, which is one of the biggest mistakes. Okay, one of the biggest mistakes. While preparing for this, if you are not able to do your graduation, if you cannot do justice to the subject that you are studying, that you are graduating from, there is no guarantee you are going to do justice to the civil services. So my advice always to students is to never start preparing at an early age. They need to complete the basics, and many students do not listen to this advice. And I have seen many students who start at the first year, second year, and they are never able to get selected, though their aim is right to get selected at an early age. But by the time they reach 21, 22, they are completely saturated, and they are saturated with so much information, so much knowledge that they do not actually know what to do. I'm telling you this from practical experience. So now tell me whether is it a prudent or imprudent, because such students then neglect the graduation subject, which is a completely imprudent decision. Because when you go for the interview, I mean, you have to be able to justify your subject. If you are not true to your own subject, how do you think can you be true to the civil services? Give me the answer.
Yes, sir.
Umang, you followed now what I said.
Yes, sir.
So now you understood what it means to be prudent.
Yes, sir.
So prudent means a person who makes a wise decision at the right time, at the right place, the right choice. So as I said, over the period of time, I have seen so many students making imprudent decisions, and that costs them a lot severe. The first imprudent decision that students make is joining without actually preparing basics. So they don't know basics, they do not read NCRTs, and that may include y'all also. I do not know if you all have read or not read, but what from the way y'all speak, the understanding is very clear that y'all have not read the basics. So that is one of the imprudent decision. बिकॉज अगर आप इमारत बांध रहे हो और उसकी जो नींव है उसको बराबर से नहीं रखे हो, इमारत खड़ी नहीं होने वाली. I have had so many students attending Vajiram classes and big names and coming to me, and they have done classes exactly after. I have currently a student also who has done from Vajiram, and he has completed his classes and he has done now 3 years. He's just around 22, 23. He's completed BSc Physics and then immediately he entered into Vajiram. And now when he's writing answers, he is not able to write basic answers from the conceptual questions. Why? Because his concepts are not clear. Now tell me, is it prudent or imprudent?
Sir, imprudent.
So if you all don't want to be imprudent, you need to be wise.
Yes, sir.
So many times at this age now, we are very enthusiastic. We want to do things fast, but we don't realize that in the process of doing things fast, we may not we may make a lot of wrong choices. Are you all following what I'm saying now? Chetan, are you following?
Yes, sir.
Siddhi, you followed?
Yes, sir. Follow.
So unless you are able to, if you are not doing justice to your subject, that's what I means also. Now, many students say that we have just chosen our subjects, we have just taken up graduation subject for the sake of taking. Another imprudent choice. Because that means you do not know what you are doing and why you are doing it and why you are supposed to do it. So that means you are doing things just because others are doing it, herd mentality, or just because parents are forcing. So there are many reasons and many factors. So this goes to show our choices. And the choices that we make are the same mistakes we will repeat when we enter into civil services. And then that's why UPSC screens out such candidates. And then it is difficult for such candidates to get selected. So over the years, I have seen so many students, personally, I have had students and I have witnessed to this fact that students who speak big things but actually don't know any basic things. So rather, it's very important in this exam to understand you must have a basic foundation rather than speaking big things. That is called prudence. So this exam basically tests the basic foundation. Are you all following what I'm saying?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, Vaishnavi. What happened? So when you are preparing for this exam, the first thing that you need to do is to start from the basic level. It doesn't matter if you have to start from even the lower level, start preparing, understand the concept, get a good grasp of the conceptual clarity because that is going to help you. Now, take for example those of you who may have attempted. I know only few of you are previous batch students. Those of you who may have attempted, have any of you given the 2023 prelims paper? How many of you have attempted? किसी ने अटेम्प्ट दिया कि नहीं? विशाखा, सिद्धि या आदित्य? So what you found, Aditya? Why you? You have not cracked the exam, right?
So it was because of CSAT.
It was because of CSAT.
Yes.
Okay. This year the paper was turned upside down, and many students had a belief that okay, UPSC ऐसे ही पूछती है. There is a common misconception among students. So you know that these are all that is called imprudent decisions, imprudent choices. So that means when we don't realize that okay, so many students, as I said, since they are not having a good foundational conceptual clarity, they make big blunders. So it's very important to understand. So prudent is one who makes the choices rightly. And then again, it has to be just also. So the justice means now, as I said, that means you should do justice to the subject that you are studying. Otherwise, it is, and then fortitude means the courage to carry out the decision. Now, supposing if you have made a decision to pursue or persevere for the civil service, then you need to stick with that decision and not waver. So, hardships, difficulties, trials, all these things encounter. It's not a very easy road. It is a narrow road. It is a tough road. It is a road filled with thorns. And now many students are they find that they find this fortitude. So I'm giving in terms of you all only when you are preparing. And then you need to have temperance. Temperance means now you must limit your interactions. Limit your be able to control your guide on social media, on various other things that you do, or various other activities which can distract you from preparation for the civil service. Have you followed what I said?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
अभी आप लोग ये कर रहे हो क्या? कर
Yes,
रहे हो
sir.
क्या? हाँ? Siddhi, you're doing?
Yes, sir. I'm not using social media.
Now let me give you an example. I had another student. Now let me show you that how the decisions of the students, how it can waver, and why certain people get selected and why certain people don't get selected. So this student, now when he was preparing, he had his optional subject as political science. So he came to me for guidance. So I told him he had already done one class before. He was not satisfied, and his score, he had not been able to qualify for the prelims. And or rather, he had qualified for he had not been able to qualify for the prelims. So he told me about that his performance in political science was not good and he need to improve. So then I gave him certain guidelines and I told him, now in the previous attempt, his marks, when he had, before coming to me, his marks were just 190 out of 500. That means combining paper one and paper two. I think all of you know that there are two papers in the optionals. One paper is 250, second paper two is 250. So 500 marks. So his combined marks were 190. Now, after he came to me, so I told him you need to do certain changes because again, he was preparing for over 2 years. He was a BA economics honors student. And anyway, instead of choosing economics, he had chosen political science. So he had done class and he was prepared in that subject. And then with that preparation, he had scored 194. So then he heard about me from someone. So he landed up to me and he told me, sir, that I need guidance with regard to political science. Then I told him, your answers are static. That means they are based on particular notes. You're following a particular notes and there is nothing because political science is a dynamic subject. It is a very, very practical subject which is evolving. It is completely dynamic. You need to be, you need to upgrade yourself and you need to be able to give very practical examples. So based on whatever guidance I gave him, he started preparing. And in the attempt that he attempted that year, his score jumped to 307. He was the second topper in political science in that year. Now, what was his mistake? Now, I had warned him about one serious thing. And the serious thing was this, that he needs to be prudent with regard to answering in the interview. Okay. I had told him very clearly, he had come to me for interview guidance also. So I made him sit before me. I asked him questions. And I told him, you do not go anywhere else for too many mock interviews because it might confuse you and you might. Now, in his choice preferences, he had put IFS. Okay, he had put Indian Foreign Service as the first preference. And now he has, his family background is, he has 3 sisters. He's the son of a police officer. So I asked him, I said, now you love your family. He said that he loves his family and he doesn't want. Then I said, why do you have you put IFS as the first choice? I mean, when you are not willing to go out, you have just taken it based on political science and you have put IFS. So isn't this an imprudent decision? Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir, it is.
So now he scored exceptionally well. As I said, that year he was the topper, as I said, second topper in this thing. But now because of his not listening, now what he had done, he had attended other mock interviews and then there they tried to make him, tailor-made answer. Instead of giving a very practical and a realistic answer in the interview, he fared very badly. And that was the cause of him he could not make it to the final list. Okay, so imprudent choice. Now, what brought him success what made his marks increase in the second attempt? The decision that he had followed, yes or no?
Yes, sir.
So what
Yes,
should
sir.
he do in the following attempt? What should he do in the following attempt? Chetan, Umang,
Sir, he should make a prudent decision that means he should not make.
जिसके वजह से उसको मार्क्स अच्छा मिला है, उसको वही फॉलो करना चाहिए, yes or no?
Hmm.
Now, what he did in the next attempt, let me tell you his imprudent decision. So now he followed some videos of some toppers on YouTube. Okay, so he followed. Now he's very immature, according to me, because I told him also. I told him on his face that you are very immature. I mean, because without understanding things, if you are doing something, then it shows the level of understanding. That means without you are not understanding the thing and you are following something. Now, in this attempt, what did he do? Instead of following the strategy which he had followed before, he changed the strategy. That means for the optional subject. Instead of sticking by what had been told him, because it was becoming cumbersome, because I had asked him to refer to certain journals, certain things which enhanced his marks. So now he changed the strategy following some videos of the toppers, thinking he'll get selected. In the next attempt, his marks dropped down to below 200. Also, he was not temperate in the sense, now here many things, personal things also matter. Now, in this situation, some person, some female contacted him, and then he was continually whole night chatting. Now, instead of concentrating on his preparation, where his mind was diverted,
On texting.
so is that temperate? Is that just? Is he doing justice to what he's doing?
No,
No,
sir.
sir.
No, sir.
Now, do you understand what I'm saying? So, I have seen many such students like that who blame UPSC or who blame everybody else except themselves. आप लोग को समझ में आ रहा है क्या मैं क्या बोल रहा हूँ?
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
sir.
Yes, sir.
So getting selected is not about how smart you are. Getting selected in the service is not about how smart you are. Even an ordinary student, listen very carefully, who is sincere, who is perseverant, and who is down to earth can get selected easily. We do not require extraordinary or genius students in this exam. Are you following what I'm saying?
Yes, sir.
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
sir.
So unless now, so it is very important to understand that, how we are preparing, what we are doing, what am I doing right, what am I doing wrong. So this all things, this is exactly the virtue you need to observe in yourself. Am I prudent in my preparation? Do I have the courage to undertake the preparation? Am I temperate about things that I am dealing with? Or am I doing justice to what I'm preparing? This is the question you can ask yourself. कुछ समझ में आ रहा है या नहीं आ रहा है?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Aditya, you understood something? Hello?
Hello.
Yes, you understood.
Yes, sir.
So it is very important that when you are preparing in this exam, because see, this exam is the exam which will test you physically, mentally, emotionally. It is not just about how smart and how intellectual you are. It is not going to help you. Let me tell you. I have had some students coming to me and telling me, "Sir, मुझे एक ही attempt में clear करना है. मेरा हो जाएगा." I have had such students also coming and claiming such things. Let me put one thing very clearly. Unless you have fire running in your blood, only then you will clear this exam. You understood what I just said?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Uh,
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
So when you are passionate about what you are doing, and when you keep yourself in that kind of a this thing, and you are able to, there are situations and times where we will feel low, we will not feel motivated, we will find ourselves discomforted. So that is a time when we need to rise up and again start. But as I said, there are many things. It is not just one aspect of the exam that can get you selected. There are various factors which integrate to making a person candidate get selected. And one of the things is definitely ethics. So unless if you ask yourself these questions and if you are ethical to yourself, if you are sincere to yourself, surely you will get selected. That's why this paper is so important. आप लोग समझ रहे हैं मैं क्या बोल रहा हूँ?
yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
तो आप लोग ना ये प्रैक्टिकली खुद के ऊपर मतलब you try to apply to yourself, then you will know exactly what am I doing, what am I exactly doing, am I doing justice? Now, virtue theory, criticism, it is subjective and keeps changing with time. Virtuous women in ancient time imply one who is quiet, servile, productive. This does not hold good today. Action and consequences of action is more important than the inherent quality of the person. A true virtue is one that is universally applicable. However, most virtues have cultural and social bias. Servility may be considered as a female virtue, but is not considered to be a male virtue. Now, deontology, given by the philosopher Immanuel Kant, German philosopher, one of the greatest philosophers of all times, derived from the Greek word deon, which means obligation or duty, obliged to do. So an action should be judged based on laws and rules. It's sometimes described as duty or rule-based ethics because rules bind you to do your duty. This theory argues that decisions should be made considering the factors of one's duties and one's rights. So a civil servant is supposed to be obliged to do his duty. So when you justify your theory or when you justify your case study, you have to give Immanuel Kant's deontology. That means if you are giving a particular reason that why you are doing so, based on the deontology theory, you have to be able to prove that why your action, whatever action you are doing, is based. Are you following? जब भी आप लोग केस स्टडीज को जस्टिफाई कर रहे हो तो आप लोग को ये थियरीज में से आपको प्रूव करने आना चाहिए, तो ही आपका आंसर को वैल्यू है. आप लोग समझ रहे हैं मैं क्या बोल रहा हूं? What you think does not matter in this exam. Your thinking should be backed by the theorist. Are you following? You and I are not theorists. So get this thing very clear in your head. आप लोग को समझ में आ रहा है मैं क्या बोल रहा हूँ? Yes or no?
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
sir.
So whatever you think, as I said, or I think, it is of no value and consequence unless you are able to prove through the thinkers. Obviously, whatever we think, we have a particular certain thought process and that, but that thought process also is guided by certain values, certain principles, and obviously certain theories only, which we may not be aware of. Okay, so whatever we are thinking, we have to be able, or whatever we are trying to justify. So any case study, anything which we are giving has to be given from multiple point of view. So that's why you have to learn to think. And a civil servant, basically, as I mentioned yesterday also, has a panoramic viewpoint, does not limit themselves to just one side of the story. Following?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Hmm? So you can see there it is written most relevant in the civil services since your action should always be in accordance with the rules and laws of the country. Then consequentialism, or also known as teleology. It is derived from two Greek words, telos, which means end or goal, purpose, and logos means reason, explanation. So morality of an action depends on the outcome. It does not depend upon the duty or the virtue, but what is the final outcome, okay, or out result. So ends are more important than the means. End result is yesterday only I told you about means and ends. You all remember? Yes or no?
Yes.
Hmm? So consequentialists, that means the consequence of any action, include ethical philosophies like utilitarianism, utility of an action, which means that an action is right if it leads to GHGN, it is called, which was propounded by Jeremy Bentham. GHGN means greatest happiness of the greatest number. That means if many number of the people in the society are happy, then that action is right. So based on the utility of the action. But then again, the problem is it will suppress the minority. Are you all following now what I'm trying to tell you?
Yes, sir.
Now, ethics of care or relational ethics. This school of thought was founded by a feminist theorist, notably Carol Gilligan. She argues that morality arises out of the experiences of empathy and compassion. It emphasizes the importance of interdependence and relationships in achieving ethical goals. And ethical action is one that nurtures relationship and strengthens the family and society. So basically, feminine, again, the feminine theorist. Okay. Applied ethics. It involves examining specific controversial issues like such as abortion, infanticide, animal rights, environmental concerns, homosexuality, capital punishment, or nuclear war. Requirement one, is it controversial? I mean, for it to be an applied ethic, issue must be controversial because significant number of people are for and against the issue. Yesterday, we already had that kind of an experience. The common moral issues like theft, murder, rape, which are admitted by almost everyone as immoral, are not part of the applied ethics. Murdering people using guns is not applied ethics. However, gun control is within applied ethics. समझ में आया what comes under applied ethics? What can be classified as applied ethics? Yes or no? All of you, are you with me?
Sir, what is mean by gun control?
In US now, whether they should possess guns, you know that everybody's having, they have the license for gun, and they just so to have whether we should have a license control over that. Because anybody and everybody possesses gun, then they start shooting, as we know.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Hmm. Have you all followed? Yes or no? Chetan, Pratik.
Yes, sir.
Now, is it a moral issue? So, when does it become an applied ethics? Only first of all, whether it is controversial. Second thing, is it a moral issue? Some issues like reservation, affirmative action, public versus private healthcare, energy conservation are controversial. They also have substantial impact on society, and they do not have moral dimensions. So they are not having moral dimensions. Now, reservation is not a moral dimension. Okay. These are only issues of social policy which may help make a better society. Then branches of applied are medical ethics, or as you can also say under biomedical ethics or biomedical ethics. So business ethics, environmental ethics, sexual ethics, human rights ethics. Now, what are the normative principles which are to be followed? That means what are the norms which are to be followed when using applied ethics? First of all, personal benefit. Acknowledge the extent to which an action produces beneficial consequences for the individual in question. Social benefit, the extent to which an action produces the consequences for the society. That means whether any action does it have a personal benefit, a social benefit, or benevolence, helps the people who are in need. Paternalism, assists others in pursuing their best interest, and principle of harm. It does not do any harm to others. Then these all are principles which are to be used in applied ethics. Also, principle of honesty, not to deceive others, principle of lawfulness, not to violate the law, autonomy, acknowledge a person's freedom over his actions, principle of justice, acknowledge a person's right to due process for compensation for harm done, and rights, acknowledge a person's right to life, information, privacy, free expression, and safety. Now, the fields of applied ethics, business ethics. So, I think in the notes which I have given you all now, I would want you all to read on that. What are the different kinds of applied ethics? Yes or no? Can you all do that?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Hmm? Okay. So is there any doubt now, any query, any question? Today on all the branches of ethics that we have seen, broadly we have classified. I mean, we have seen what is meta ethics, then we have seen normative ethics, okay. Under normative, we have seen virtue ethics, deontology, teleology, or consequentialism. And finally, we have come to applied ethics. Have you all followed or not followed?
Yes.
So let us start with the feedback. Siddhi,
Yes, sir. The overall lecture was good, sir. But in today's lecture, other than ethics, you have told many things and many facts which are going to be helpful for us. Thank you, sir.
yes. Vishaka, Vaishnavi,
Yes, the overall lecture was very informative and I understand the things in better manner. So thank you, sir.
Umang,
Yes, sir. Today's lecture was so good, sir. You just tell the meaning of prudence, so it make me do all my thing in prudent manner. So that whole lecture was so good, and it will so help in our UPSC preparation. So thank you, sir.
Sharwari, Smriti,
Yes, sir. Today's lecture was very informative. I get to know about various aspects of ethics and different dimensions on what the situation is and how ethical and unethical it can be.
Sharayu,
My
Sania.
lecture was
Yeah.
so good, and I
Yeah.
get to know about many things which I don't have any basic knowledge about this. So I get to know that I should do or I should read about that. And thank you so much, sir, for
Yeah.
your experience, sharing experience.
Yes. Sania, Samyak. Okay, yeah, Sania.
Lecture was very good and I get very information from this which I didn't know before. Thank you.
Samyak.
Yeah, sir. As usual, the session was very interactive as well as insightful. And one thing that you told I mean, it's a reality check that sacrifices have to be made for this exam. You cannot get easily selected. That is obviously true. And most important that we have to be driven instead of being motivated because we cannot be motivated all the times. So we have to be driven and we have to make right choices. And I think it's it's a tough road, but not impossible.
Yes. Pratik.
Yes, sir. There is informative. One thing I had learned that, sir, whenever we are sharing our point of view in some aspects, the main thing is that giving justice to that question is important. That I learned. Thank you, sir.
Yes. Lalit.
Yes, sir. Today's lecture very informative, and I will understand what are the branches very deeply. And this session is sharing the experience of that boy is very motivational for me. It is not need for the crack for exam for the smart and intelligence. Then you are humble. These are the very interesting part or very motivational part for this lecture. Thank you.
Kunal.
Yes, so the lecture was very nice and we got to know about dimensions of ethics in detail. Thank you, sir.
Chetna,
This lecture was very informative. I got to know more about the morality and ethics. Thank you.
Harsiddhi.
Yes, sir, the session was very well explained by you and the concepts are a lot more clear now. And at the same time, I also really like the example that you gave of that other student. So even I realized a lot of things while you were telling us this experience. So we have to be careful about all the choices that we make so that we also get successful in this attempt. So thank you, sir. It was very, very
Please make
informative.
good personal choices. Okay. It can affect your performance. Be very, very careful. While preparing for this exam can either make you or break you. So we should not be broken down by the exam because there is a life even beyond civil service. So don't be get completely this thing that this is the end or this is, everything is revolving around civil service only. Okay. So we have to have a very kind of a broad attitude and a mind when you are preparing for an exam like this. Chetan.
Um, so first of all, like sir said, this is the most scoring subject, and it's a conceptual subject. So, and yeah, so that is what it reminded me again. And then somewhere when you were explaining the concepts, I realized these concepts has to be tied with very what do you say, a lot of examples, so that you remember this concept very well. And for that, I think everybody has to write down the examples of every whatever the branches or whatever, so that it is um, it is you then you would understand it very well. So next time you would ask, and that concept would not be new, or you would be able to explain with the example. That is what my observation was. And like you said about having a foundational knowledge in order to understand or be on the lines, or try to understand what is expected, since it is not a regular college exam, or it demands more. So yeah.
You're smart, Chetan. Ariel. Aryan. Hmm. You must not only write in comment, Aryan, you must also unmute and speak. Okay. Anyway, Aditya.
The session started um, in a linear way, but then towards the end, it was, I think the time was a little less, so we had to rush a little bit. The discussion was all right, like as usual. One more thing that I want to add is that it's such an exam that you can do everything right and still not get selected. So we also have to be prepared for that.
So that's
I
exactly
agree
what I
on that.
said.
I agree on that.
Uh, See, we can do everything right somewhere or the other. That's obviously that is the fact. That's why we have to be ready for the consequences. That's what requires fortitude. That's exactly what I said. We need to have the courage to say, okay, that this is not the end of the road. So when you are preparing for this exam, when you enter into preparation for this exam, this understanding has to be there that I will give my 100%. But am I giving? I would not say 100%. You have to give your 101%, and which many candidates are not willing to do. They are basically not willing to do the 101%. That's the problem. So definitely there are some things which are lacking. So it is not that if we are doing everything right, we will not get the UPSCs. Definitely, if we are doing, we are going to be rewarded. You will get selected. So if you are following a proper way, there is a obviously, as I again now undoubtedly, sometimes we may think that there are subjective, that it is subjective, that some years, but because we have a different kind of notion mindsets that okay, UPSC asks like this only, like that only. Many students have a lot of misconceptions and misnotions, and so that is the reason also why the problems begin. So it is always good to have a prudent mind, a discerning mind to discern, right? So now in the next lecture, you all have to prepare further and come. Okay. And I hope you all will prepare further and come. So we will move forward on the further topic. And as I said, very important, you all try and read from IGNU and try and understand the basic concepts. Conceptual clarity is a must. Then we can move forward. Right? Okay. Any doubt?
No, sir.
Okay. Thank you to all of you. So I think please stop the recording.
Yes, sir.